Hey friends, thanks so much for tuning in. You know how much we appreciate it. We're going to take a break on this call from QAnon information, and we're going to talk about precious metals and cryptos because I think that is what you need moving forward. Of course, silver and gold in physical form, and I'd recommend you click the banner at the top of SGT Report and visit our friends at SD Bullion and check out that new Roaring Lion from New Zealand. It's an SD Bullion exclusive. Only 50,000 of them will ever be minted, and you can get it starting at just $1.49 over spot. And if you enter SGT Report in the coupon code when you buy 20 or more, you'll get free shipping and insurance on the delivery. My friend Nick Amenta from TruthBlitzMedia on YouTube is joining me to discuss all things crypto and silver and gold. How are you, Nick?
Good, Sean. How are you?
Hey, I'm good, man. Thanks for coming on. And I just want to refresh everyone's memory that Nick has joined me in the past. Nick, I got that right. Your YouTube channel is TruthBlitzMedia, correct?
Correct, yep. TruthBlitzMedia, and then myself and Crypto Blood have also started a podcast, which the channel is called the Block Party Podcast. That's a new channel.
I like watching you guys. I like Crypto Blood. He broadcasts from the inside of his car sometimes. What car?
Yeah, it's an Audi.
It's an Audi? Yeah, he's definitely a car guy, isn't he?
He is, yep.
Yeah, he's a character. I like that guy. And you guys, I think, are both straight shooters. And just to set the stage, you have physical silver and gold, right? You're a believer in precious metals.
Oh, yes, very much. I've been buying silver. I don't own a ton of gold, but I do have some. Silver is my thing, and I've been buying silver since actually probably since I first subscribed to you, which is shortly after you started your channel. So, I've been buying silver for years. I bought it, at its current price. I've bought it at $20. I've bought it above $20. And I still have every ounce of the silver that I've bought previously. So
yeah, good man. So do I. And one thing I would say to guys is that Nick and I both realize, as you guys do, what's going on with silver and gold. And you need look no further than the comics. If you want to see the manipulation charted, essentially accounted for and documented on a daily basis, subscribe to our friend TF Metals on Twitter, because he constantly shows exactly what the banks are doing to cap or take out a hit on the prices of silver and gold. And Nick, I've long maintained that if silver and gold traded freely, as do most of the cryptos, and believe me, I do think the cryptos can be manipulated, but because the cryptos aren't all on the COMEX and the bankers can't sell them short with billions and billions in paper that doesn't exist, silver and gold would be trading a lot like these cryptos. I mean, look at Ethereum. It's gone from 7 to 1,200 in less than a year.
Exactly, yeah. I owned a little bit of Bitcoin before I got into other cryptos, but I first bought Ethereum just over a year ago, and I think I paid $10 for my first few Ethereum. And if we just look at where the price went in less than a year, it's insane. And not just Ethereum, so many others. The price has just gone moonshot. And, where else can you, take a $250 investment and turn it into, if you played your cards right, turn it into, hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Well, it's absolutely unreal is what it is. And it may end up being the biggest bubble on Earth. But in fairness, I should say this. We have Jamie Dimon coming out on Tuesday here saying, "I regret calling Bitcoin a fraud." He says, and I quote, "The blockchain is real. You can have cryptos, yen, and dollars and stuff like that. ICOs you have to look at individually," Dimon told Maria Bartiromo. And I just think it's an interesting story because you and I both know there are decent cryptos out there and there are crappy ones like Ripple. Your take on Ripple?
Although the price of Ripple has gone way up from, where it was, for example, last summer, and even before that, I won't touch Ripple. To me, cryptocurrencies and blockchain technology is all about decentralization. And, Ripple there's nothing decentralized about it. It's the banker's coin. It's centralized. And I just feel for someone with a libertarian mindset, Ripple just goes against everything I believe in.
Yeah, me too. It's a bankster coin. And the reason I said earlier here on this call that I think the cryptos can be manipulated is because I think we recently saw a tremendous amount of manipulation in the price of Ripple, which briefly sent it into the stratosphere, giving it a market cap that made it the second most valuable cryptocurrency on the planet right behind Bitcoin. And it made the, I guess, creator or CEO, because again, Ripple's not a normal crypto. It's not actually a crypto we'd recommend to anybody. And it had a market cap that made the quote unquote CEO even more rich than Mark Zuckerberg at Facebook briefly. Pretty astounding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he owns actually 60% of the total supply of Ripple.
Well, that's absurd.
Yeah. So yeah, I would not recommend to anybody to get into Ripple. If it's something you feel you really want to do, just proceed with caution.
Okay. The other thing I want to say too is that a lot of people feel like they've missed the boat entirely. And you and I have been talking for a long time about Cliff High and the WebBot data, suggesting that many of these cryptos, some of which are still around $1 right now, are going to parity at some point with Ethereum. And so one of the things I wanted to do on this call is not proselytize to people about cryptos. If you think that they're evil and you don't want to be involved, more power to you. But for those who would like to just throw a little skin into the game and take a flyer on something that might go higher, there are cryptos still out there worth taking a look at. Your thoughts on that?
Oh, definitely. It's funny because you mentioned Cliff High, and 2 weeks ago when he was on Greg Hunter's show, and I follow Cliff very closely. I buy his reports. I've made a good amount of profit from following the cryptos that he has put in his reports, like many others have. And he said 2 weeks ago, which, I mean, I knew this, but at the current time, there was about 1% of the population of the world in the crypto space. And his data shows, and his prediction is that in the year 2018, we're going to see a 13% population shift into cryptos. So for people who think maybe they've missed the boat on cryptos, I would tell you that that's not the case. Prices have a long way to go up. And yeah, there may be a bubble at some point, but we are not in that yet. So there are, for example, Pillar is one that is still relatively cheap, and that is one that Cliff says at some point is going to go to parity with the price of Ethereum. Now, right now, the last I checked, Pillar was around $1.30. And there's a couple others, Populous being one, Veritasium. Populous just had its ICO, or pre-ICO actually, in June of 2017. If you put one Ethereum in, you got roughly 900 or so Populous. So for someone like me, who bought Ethereum at $10, and I did the math in my head, if you put 25 Ethereum into the Populous ICO, or actually it wasn't an ICO, they only went to a pre-ICO and sold out back in June, your, like I said, $10 Ethereum, your $250 initial investment today is worth roughly $1.5 million. Totally insane. And you can cash that out into US dollars. It's not like it has to stay in crypto. So just imagine, if you are skeptical about cryptocurrency, and you are, a precious metals person, like that's what's in my blood. That's what got me started, is precious metals. Just imagine the amount of silver and gold you could buy with $1.5 million.
No, that's right.
Yeah.
No,
so,
that's interesting, and I think the case is to be made that there is a bubble happening when you tell a story like that, and people are like, well, what's the case used for Populous? That has to be a bubble if it's worth so much money now. We don't necessarily have to have that conversation, but I just wanted to make the point to back you up that if you held any Ethereum, if you bought and held any Ethereum at all, right now you can sell one Ethereum for $1,200 and buy 67 or 68 ounces of silver. And a lot of people bought Ethereum at, like you said, 7, 10, 20, 30 bucks per Ethereum. So I think what's happening here, Nick, and it just needs to be said, I've said it before, I'll say it again, is that I think a lot of the hyperinflation we would otherwise be seeing in silver and gold in the economy at large is flowing into this crypto space, which now sits at a market cap, a collective market cap of the top 100 cryptocurrencies is now valued at $750 billion. So it's just spitting distance from $1 trillion market cap. And I know some people are out saying as soon as it hits $1 trillion market cap, it'll quickly double to a $2 trillion market cap, and it could run from there. What do you think?
Yeah, I fully believe that. And like I said, Cliff High is predicting a 13% population shift. And just to tell you, a little story just about my personal experience, I've been telling family members about cryptocurrency since I would say the spring of 2017. And every time I talked about it, everyone, and I mean everyone, looked at me like I had three heads. They didn't want to touch it. But it's funny how it works, because once Bitcoin started getting talked about more on the mainstream media, now everybody wants in. So I have gotten personally, I would say no less than 10 people that I personally know, including family members, coming to me wanting me to help them get into crypto. So, and I'm obviously not the only person with that kind of story. So there are tons of new people getting in, and the prices are going to reflect that. They're just going to keep going up. So it is not too late to get into crypto. Basically, the way I see it is this technology is the way of the future. It's not going to go anywhere. So you can fight it and, not get yourself involved in it, or you can accept it and profit off of it.
I want to ask you something about the future of cryptos here in a second. So remind me, we're going to circle back to it. I'll make myself a note right here to ask you about this particular new technology. We're going to talk about it in a second.
Ashgraph.
Yeah, you read my mind. I want to talk to you about that. But before we get there, for people who are listening that may want to just dip their foot in a pool and they don't even have, Litecoin, they don't have an account, do they have to start at Coinbase? I mean, that's the easiest place to start. Is that really the only place to start?
It's not the only. It is definitely the easiest. There's also exchanges like Gemini, which is owned by the Winklevoss twins of Facebook. They have an exchange. You know what? I haven't been on there in months. I don't know if they have Litecoin on there. I know they have Bitcoin and Ethereum, but you can buy it through there. You can buy it, Bitcoin anyway, through local Bitcoins, or you can set up a Coinbase account, which is by far the easiest and most trusted way, in my opinion, and in the eyes of most people I know, to get into it. Now, you're kind of limited when you first sign up with a Coinbase account. I think your starting credit card limit is like $750 a week or something like that.
And you're limited to the three cryptos you can buy. You can only, at this point on Coinbase, buy Bitcoin, Ethereum, or Litecoin. That's it. So any of these altcoins that Cliff talks about, that you've mentioned even on this call, you can't buy them through Coinbase. So then it gets tricky. And if you open an account on EtherDelta or some of these other exchanges, I can just tell people from experience from having a Poloniex account, it's really difficult for a newbie to figure out how to even buy and sell and trade, because they want you to use Ethereum or Litecoin or Bitcoin, and all of those alts are priced in fractional Ethereum or Bitcoin, and it becomes very difficult sometimes to calculate the price of the alts. I think you mentioned to me on EtherDelta that's not the case with all of them. Is that right? Some of them are quoted in USD?
No, that's Bittrex actually. EtherDelta, everything is you're not going to see one US dollar price on EtherDelta. And EtherDelta is probably the most difficult exchange to use. But on Bittrex, if you're in the Bitcoin market, it does show you the price of each coin in US dollar amount.
Okay, and just to give people a primer, anybody who's still with us, and I know I've got a lot of thumbs down because a lot of our loyalists only believe in silver and gold in physical form and not cryptos. And I'm cool with that. I get that. I don't want to be entrenched in a camp where I believe I hold all of the answers, because I know that I don't. I have a lot of questions, and I think some of these cryptos are going to be great. Some of them are here to stay. Others are fly-by-night. Some of them, like Ripple, are complete and total frauds, in my opinion. So the crypto story is an important one. I was just going to say, though, if you start a Coinbase account and then you want to dabble into the alts, you need to get a private wallet set up. So for those who are listening, you'd want to get a MyEther wallet. So myetherwallet.com, set that up, and that's your own private wallet. You've got a public key and you've got a private key. You never, ever, ever give out your private key to anyone, not even a friend like Nick who you trust implicitly. The minute you let that private key out, people can steal your cryptos. That is the lock on your safe, is your private key. So I guess that's just a primer for anyone listening.
Yeah, it's like giving someone your ATM card and the PIN number.
Yes. And so then what happens is, if you had somebody like Nick and you sent him an Ethereum and you said, please buy me this other alt that's out there, he could then buy that for you and send that alt to your private wallet. You would not store that on Coinbase because you can't. Coinbase, like I said, only stores those 3 major cryptocurrencies. Okay, sort of babbling here. I just think, in fairness to what's been going on and the wealth that's been made with cryptocurrencies, at least for some of the people that have been following Cliff's reports, I just wanted to have the conversation again and open it back up because I just don't think this thing is going to pop and all the cryptos are going to zero. It may be a bubble, but I don't think it's going to pop, and I don't think they're all going to zero.
No, I don't think so. And it's a lot of people who had just gotten in through the FOMO, the fear of missing out, when Bitcoin was around $20,000. Well, we saw a market correction, and a lot of people sold at a loss and have been scared to get back in. We see corrections like that all the time. It's nothing for Bitcoin to go to a new high and then pull back 30 or 40%. But then it always ends up rising back up and going past the last high. But for them to go to, for any of these to go to zero, or any of the legitimate ones, I should say, I really don't see that happening. This technology and this market has gained so much momentum, and the technology, blockchain technology, has various use cases, and companies are being built around this technology. So for it to go to zero, no, I don't see that happening.
And for those who would make the argument that Satoshi Nakamoto is nothing more than a NSA cover for what is clearly a PSYOP, a Bitcoin PSYOP, a cryptocurrency PSYOP to whet the appetite of the general public to accept digital money moving forward, what would you say about those NSA papers that were written, I think, back in the late 90s about cryptocurrencies? What would you say about that argument in general? Bitcoin a PSYOP? Is this whole thing a PSYOP to get us to accept the mark of the beast system?
You know, it's a good question, and it's one that I really don't have the answer to, but it's not out of the realm of possibility. But however, I think if that is and was the case, that this kind of got away from them, and they pretty much screwed themselves, and they didn't foresee happening what is happening now. So they're going to try to develop, their own currency. I've seen countries already doing it. And then you've talked about FedCoin. They're trying to develop a cryptocurrency version of the U.S. dollar.
Yeah, the Federal Reserve, by the way, guys, when he refers to FedCoin, that's a real thing the Federal Reserve is trying to concoct. And I just hope a all too dumbed down general public doesn't willingly accept it when it comes.
Right, yeah. I just think, and countries have tried to stop this market. China has tried and failed. South Korea, I believe, was the latest that was going to try to they can't stop it. They can slow it down a little bit, but it's going to gain momentum again and pick back up. That's the beauty of being decentralized. There's always going to be a way for somebody to use this cryptocurrency. And there are so many ways right now. You can put it on a debit card and spend it. You can cash it out into your checking account. They can slow this down, but they're not going to be able to stop it.
There was a recent documentary there done by our friend Mike Maloney over at goldsilver.com. Did a great job. Took us all through the story of how he bought his first Bitcoin, began to believe in Bitcoin, and in the process of making the documentary, he learned about a new thing called the hash graph technology, which makes him believe that's the new, and cryptos will soon be obsolete. Do you know anything about hash graph technology? Any thoughts on that?
I know a little bit of how it works. It's something I definitely need to look into more. However, I think in order for, and that very well could be, but if that happened, it's going to be a few years down the road, I believe. We have already 9 years of growth and momentum in blockchain. Hashgraph is so new. In order for it to gain enough mainstream adoption to replace blockchain, it's definitely going to be a significant amount of time, in my opinion, for something like that to happen. And I think Cliff High actually said the same thing. Just the issue with Hashgraph is going to be for it to gain the amount of adoption it needs to become the new thing.
And guys, I'll link to that documentary that Mike Maloney did. I'll put it right below in the more info section so you can watch the whole thing for yourself. It's very, very gripping. And I think Mike has been very intellectually honest about this entire thing. He's a gold and silver guy right to the core of his being. And he also opened up his mind to the opportunity in cryptos, and he made a lot of money for himself. So, I guess the reason I wanted to have this conversation, guys, is because we all have a lot of woulda, shoulda, couldas. And what I found out in the real world is nobody cares about your woulda, shoulda, couldas. They only care about your digits. And if you want to reach out to our friend Nick directly, Nick, how do they do that?
You can reach out to me through my new website, blockvisor.io. I also have my website that's associated with my YouTube channel, which is truthblitz.com. Any of those methods is fine to reach out to me through.
All right, and I want to be very clear here. You and I are merely friends. I do not have any financial interests in what you're doing or in anything that comes from this interview. If you start to partner with other people to help them get into cryptos, I get nothing from these transactions. I just merely wanted to have this conversation to help people if they want to seek out more information about how to do this stuff, because Nick did help me directly. But I do wish you guys all the best. I really do appreciate your support. And I would highly recommend that folks click on that banner ad at the top of SGT Report and go visit our good friends at SD Bullion and check out that Roaring Lion coin. And Nick, I thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much, Sean.
All right, my pleasure. Guys, thanks so much for tuning in. And for real news 24/7, visit us at SGT Report. Check us out at thephaser.com, where I hand select a wide variety of videos for you, including some from my friend Nick and others. And check us out at thelibertymill.com as well. We very much appreciate it. Have a great week, guys. God bless.
QAnon just directly says Debbie Wasserman Schultz put out a 187, which is a kill job, on Seth Rich. These MS-13 gang members who did the hit were subsequently killed themselves. That would have kind of completed the cover-up of that murder.